Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. I just got off the phone with my buddy Jigger Jim, who works at the log cabin on Black Lake, but of course that's closed in the winter. And I wanted to ask him about the ice fishing right now. I know we've got a number of ice fishing tournaments coming up, and there is one in Black Lake. Well, Jim told me a lot of things. Number one, he was really, I guess it's fair for me to say, upset with the trend that is going on now with ice fishing in his area. And what he's talking about is there doesn't seem to be much courtesy, much of that age-old element of really respecting another person's turf. He's told me stories about how he'll set up with his Vexlar, and he's in a wonderful place, and there'll be people that'll come and drill holes within arm's distance of his tent. But that isn't really what you need to know, other than this is a good time and place to talk about courtesy, the decency that people can show each other, and we can all enjoy this sport if we work together at it. But the other thing that he did tell me is he said that the ice right now, because that's when we talk about any of this kind of fishing, we're talking about safety. I drill that in every week because I think that's the most important thing I can talk about. And he said, it appears like we have the best ice that we've had in over 5 years. Now, Jim had gone through the ice one time, barely survived. So ice safety conditions are a primary concern for him. But he said, no, we've got some wonderful ice right now. People are catching a lot of crappie. And, of course, Black Lake is a great place for ice fishing. But there's more to this story that I think is important. I said to Jim, tell me what you like about ice fishing. He said, like about ice fishing? He said, I live for it. I love it. He said, I would rather go ice fishing than fish in the open water. Now, Jim is an avid open water fisherman. And I was surprised, and I said, Jim, tell me why. Tell me so I can tell other people that might not have experienced this. He said, because I can see the fish. He says that opens up a wonderment for me. He says, I got to tell you something. He says, if it wasn't for fishing and ice fishing in particular, he says, I don't think I'd be alive right now. It brings that much to his life. And again, I said, tell me why. I need to know why. I says, can't you see the fish with forward-facing sonar and with all the things today? He says, it's different. It's different in open water fishing. So let me back up and let me tell all of you listening about earlier this morning. I got up really early and I was planning on what we could talk about. And I went online in Northland Fishing Tackle. You can go see the same thing. If you go online and go to Northland Fishing Tackle, and look at their tips for ice fishing. So they show this guy out on the ice, and he's got his cameras all set up, and I'm watching as he puts his lure down. He has two lures. He has one with a live minnow on, and another one with I think it's an Acme, some kind of a rattle spoon. And on the rattle spoon, he has a fish head. Cut off the head of a minnow and put it on the spoon just for scent or whatever. And so I become fascinated. I'm watching his baits go down, and I'm seeing the fish just like I was in the water with them, and I'm seeing them come up to it. And honestly, folks, it was as fascinating as anything I've seen. And it took me way back to when I was 5 years old on my grandmother's dock and was at the end of the dock. Somebody was holding me so I wouldn't go in, and I'm looking down at the water, and I'm seeing perch and sunfish. And I'd never seen them before, and I had some kind of pole back then, and I could watch them come up and look at the worm and hit it. And they became the majesty, the fascination, the magic realm that would guide my life ever since then. It became that fascinating to me. And as I watched these fish this morning on this video that this guy had, and I'm seeing them come up to these lures, and they'll look at one, and then they'll look at the other, and they would come up a little bit more, and maybe nibble. And honestly, you wouldn't know any of this if you didn't have this picture of seeing what's happening down below. And it made it a whole different world for me. And what I thought, My goodness, no wonder fishermen are becoming better. If you can watch what's happening, you can learn so much. Yeah, I'd see this bass come in, and the bass would go up to it, and then it would think, I don't know if I'm going to hit it, and it'd just nibble a tiny bit. The guy couldn't even feel it, and yet he'd see it, and then the fish would go away. And then another one would come up, and that might react a little bit differently, but you could watch its eyes and how it approached it. And it was nothing like I could really imagine before. I can only say the fish seem like other animals. They seem so much more than I, through all my life, had given them credit for. So what I'm saying is ice fishing, and I think it's enhanced because of all these new developments in technology, but it is a sport that for some people is the greatest thing that they do in their life. They look forward to it. They like it better than open water fishing. And I'll tell you what, maybe you would too. To be able to be in that world and watch what you do. You get to see what the lure does after you jiggle the rod. You get to see what action the fish might prefer and what might scare them away. There's so much that you can learn by watching them. And then all the other times you've been fishing, you can maybe understand better why you got skunked or why you may have had a great day. So ice fishing is wonderful right now. We've got a lot of it going on. There's so many waters that you can go. They're catching walleyes. I've talked to people that are fishing in the Grass River before it enters the St. Lawrence, and that's a key area. There's tons of fishermen catching fish in Wheat House Bay. There's so many places, and I'll try to get you more informed as time goes on. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.